All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll just start out with a little summary of the Northwestern game, and then a couple comments about Illinois, and then we can go from there. First of all, we're on our what we call our big three. We're doing a little bit better. You know, penalties are down. We had a offensive chop block. We had a couple of hands to the face penalties, and we had a face mask penalty. We had in another category, explosive plays. We were good. We actually had 14 explosive plays offensively, and gave up 2 on defense. And then in the turnover deal, we were even. We were doing better in general, and still want to cut down our offensive turnovers, which turned into fumbles in this last game. But we broke even in the last game. Positive things about the game: I thought our team competed and kept their poise. You know, when we squandered a couple opportunities, you know, there could be kind of a nervousness to that I was a little worried about, but we kept playing and made the plays that we needed them to make. We ran the ball well, and our receivers did a nice job of blocking downfield that allowed for a couple of those explosive plays to occur. We made a couple of nice interceptions, good plays, one of them to kind of seal the game at the end. We had very good balance offensively. We were pretty good on third down, 7 out of 14, and we were decent on third down defense. They were 5 of 14. We had 4 sacks, and we didn't give up any. Now, some of that was due to Tommy's mobility too, but that was good. And then we succeeded on our fourth down call. Some of the negatives, we obviously missed those opportunities to score points, which always can come back to haunt you. We missed some more tackles this week. We gave up a unnecessary play on a touchdown pass. We gave up a long run with some bad position defensively. We had some missed passes and some drop passes. We missed a couple of opportunities to down the ball inside the 10-yard line, which we have been good at, but we haven't so far this year. Our kickoff coverage was very, very average at best. And from our standpoint, coaching staff-wise, we wasted a timeout on a transition when we were getting our punt return team on the field. So that wasn't good. Some areas we've got to improve: tackling, taking on blocks. We got cut a lot against Northwestern. Of course, our ball security's got to be better. We've got to be smarter with the ball. We've got to be better in the offensive line of handling movement. We didn't get as much consistency on our inside running game as we would have liked because of the movement that Northwestern gave us, so we've got to pick that stuff up better. Defensively, our communication wasn't always great in coverage, so I thought we gave up some unnecessary yards in coverage because of that. Most of them were underneath patterns, but still they weren't necessary. We've got to do a better job when we call it a hang 10 punt when we're punting it in, and we've got to improve our kickoff coverage again this week. So that will be a focus for us in that area. Guys that played well: Dedrick Young had maybe his best game of the year. Marcus Newby added some stuff with the pass rush. Chris Jones had an outstanding game. He made some good plays and had some tight coverage. Aaron Williams made plays tackling and in pass defense that were nice. Kyron Williams is a tough guy. He makes plays. Nate Gary made a lot of tackles. Josh Kalu played well. Kevin Maurice had his best game, playing at the line of scrimmage against the run, rushing the passer. He did a nice job. Carlos Davis had a good game, and it was good to get Mick Stoltenberg going again. He had 20 plays, which is about right for him coming back from that. He had probably too many a week ago, but he was good for us when he was in. Of course, Tommy's game was good. Nick Gates and Corey Whitaker, who filled in for us, they probably graded the highest in our offensive line. I thought all the receivers did some good stuff, and we were really happy about some of their blocking. That's part of the game where they don't really like to talk about, but boy, they make a big difference when they do that. Newby and Wilbon had some good runs and looked good. It was good to get Mikkel going a little bit. He's a talented guy, and I think it gives us one more guy that we can include in that mix and feel good about. Brad Simpson, Chris Weber continue to be special teams leaders, and Chris Brown and Jordan Ober were good at the specialist positions. That's kind of a summary from the game and the guys that did well. Illinois, they've had a bye week to get ready. Their defensive front is the best one that we will have faced so far. We had trouble with their defensive end 91 a year ago, and he's back, and they've got two defensive ends that are good. Their defensive tackles are good players, so their front will be tough. They play a four-man front, a lot of man-to-man coverage. They mix in a little bit of three deep, and then passing situations they play cover two. Offensively, they're a pro style. Their quarterback's a senior. They've got two good running backs. And then when you take it into their field goal, extra point, their rush is very effective because of that front. And they have a good daring punt returner in Mosley. So that's a little snapshot of them. Now I'll open it up for questions.
Mike, that explosive plays, and I'm sure it varies game to game, but what's your target on that? What would you like to have?
10 plus on a run and 20 on a pass.
How many?
15 was our ideal. Yeah. I think it's a big factor in winning games is getting big plays. And so, we've made an emphasis of it. Offensively, we need some big chunks, and defensively, we don't want to give them up. To this point, we're doing much better on that defensively, obviously, than a year ago. And I think that's a big, big factor in the games.
You've gone for it on fourth down a couple of times in your own end, even on your own 30. Is that something you've done a lot in the past, or is that a change in philosophy at all? Or
I think it just depends. I think the biggest factor there, Brian, in making a call like that is confidence in knowing your team, who we are, and because you have to have a good, realistic viewpoint of what's going to happen there, and you won't want any surprises. And the better you know your team, the better you can make a call like that, or not choose not to do it. And it also has to do with how you feel it has looked to that point. Now, that was pretty early the other night, but you've got to feel good about both your plan, what you're going to do there, and your team and the opponent. It all has to mix in there in a brief amount of time.
What's the outlook for Tanner Farmer this week and then Alonzo Moore?
We think both of those guys are doubtful for this week. As a matter of fact, Tanner is probably out. It's a high ankle sprain. He might need right through the bye to be healthy for the following week. So we'll see about that. I'd say Alonzo is doubtful because he's played 2 games like this, and so our initial thing is let's just get him healthy so he doesn't have to play like that. He still does a good job, and I guess I wouldn't rule him out totally, but our inclination is to get him healthy.
Hey Mike, you guys kind of on a stretch here where you have Northwestern and Illinois, and you get Indiana, Purdue, Wisconsin. You haven't played Indiana yet, but can you guys use this as a bit of a redemption tour from losing to those teams last year?
It feels like that to me, for sure, but it also just feels like a new year, and so I did not bring that up once to our team last week, but personally, it does feel like that, and I suppose as you spend longer in the league, you get a sense of how you feel about those upcoming games through a history a little bit. I certainly had those thoughts for years in the Pac-12 as we went through it year to year. But you know, it's really for us more than just coach speak, to really stay in the moment and play, enjoy the preparation for this week, get ready to play our best game. We certainly have, as I already pointed out, many areas to improve in that we have to focus on, and we're going to play a team that has had a week extra preparation for this ball game, so we just have to be really ready to play a good game, regardless of history or anything like that.
And Coach, you had 3 players kneeling during the national anthem, obviously got a lot of attention. Have you guys talked about that as a program with those players at all?
We did. Michael Rose-Ivy approached me about it the night before, and so we had a discussion. He asked if he could speak to the team about it, which he did at the walkthrough the day of the game. He, I thought, very eloquently expressed his position and why he was going to do that, and so I thought it was all really well done.
Mike,
I mean, the preparation of it.
when you've got 140 guys in a locker room with all sorts of opinions, what's that challenge like as a coach, you know, to get everybody on the same page to play football?
You know, that's interesting. There's 2 things about that. One of them is that there are 140 guys, and we've all grown up differently. And so we start out, the very first word I use at the very start of each year, and this is just kind of the lead into the first team meeting, is respect. And because we have guys from all kinds of backgrounds, all parts of the country, we have a real nice, and I love it, a melting pot. And then you also have a bunch of kids that are in college where they are kind of, you know, I can even remember back to that time. You gain a whole new awareness of the world as you go, and you start to form those opinions that are going to make you who you are for the rest of your life. So it's a really interesting thing, and that's why it's a really special opportunity for us to be involved with these kids at this time of their life. Because there's a lot going on with them. They're discovering all sorts of new stuff, and they're gaining ground on what they really believe in, and so, but what you try to do with all that is appreciate and respect the differences that you have right in this room, and basically, when you are a member of a team, you don't let those differences affect what you're trying to do as a football team. And that's probably a big chore, but it's the reality of how it works, and it's the reality of their life for the rest of their life. So it is a very special time, and you do run into a lot of different things, and our guys in a short period of time have come across this issue that is not new to us in this world, but there's more social awareness about what's going on. And they've also dealt with just recently the death of a teammate. So they go through a lot of different things in their life, and they're going to form their own conclusions as they see the world. And so it's pretty special to see all that.
I want to draw on your
How
life
much blowback
experience.
have you taken, your office, or
What's that?
how much blowback have you taken since you've been the head coach? Has your office been getting phone calls from the public? Or?
You know, I haven't really seen anything or heard anything. I'm sure there is, but nothing that I'm specifically aware of at all. And but I'm sure there's a ton. You know, nobody's going to see this in the same way. Just like I think that's the way that's going on out there in the world right now. So there's going to be a ton of different opinions, and you know, that's what. It's like I said after the game, that's what makes America what it is. People have a right to their thoughts and their opinions.
I want to draw on your own life experience a little bit. You lived in Oregon in the 60s, then now
Yes.
in the 70s.
Yes.
Two very different places.
And then I went to Berkeley. as a GA, yeah.
So did all of that basically when you're Rose Ivy's age.
Yeah.
What do you recall about your own experiences of like watching a time of great social activism in the country in the late 60s and
Yeah.
70s, and how does that maybe shape the way that you look at these things today because you lived through it?
I think that it was probably great preparation to see what these kids are now experiencing and thinking about and growing, because there was a real unrest when I was in Oregon in high school, and in a lot of different areas and a lot of stuff going on, and then going to Alabama at the time that I did was very special for me. I mean, I was on the team with the first African American at Alabama, playing football there. So I would have to say that if you pay attention, you can learn a lot about those kinds of things and how different it is, how people from their experiences view things differently.
What did you recall about that process at Alabama? Because they were one of the last teams to integrate. What
Right.
do you recall about that?
Well, you know, for us as college kids, as we were in it, I don't think until years later did I realize the impact of that situation. You know, I was coming from the West Coast. I was not necessarily as probably socially aware of what that meant right there in Alabama. But, you know, the beauty of a team is that it was not ever talked about by any of us. I mean, it was, I guess, a really, really special time and a great time. And I'm not sure we realized how great it was at the time, because we were just playing ball and going to school. But I'm very thankful for it at this time in my life.
You notice how athletes today are a lot more aware of what's going on in the world, and how do you think that affects them?
I think that there's way more awareness. I think these kids are exposed to way more stuff than we probably ever were, just because of the information that's available. And I guess that's, you know, a lot of times it probably presents things in their life, not necessarily like these issues, that make it hard, because they have to deal with negative reactions sometimes just the way they play on social media. So they've got a lot of different stuff coming at them all the time that is way different than I think it was in our day.
Coach, Tommy Armstrong running the ball on Saturday, it looked like as the game got on, he got just more confident and more definitive. Is that something you talk with him about during the week? You know, it's not there, just take off and run for it?
Well, you know, most of the time when Tommy's running, we hope it's part of the design. We don't want him to have to run because the pass protection is broken down. Now he made one great ad lib play out of the pocket on a scramble. That was a big third down conversion for us. But a lot of this stuff is off of what can be a quarterback run. And sometimes there are options involved with that run, whether he could pass it or hand it off. And the other option off of those plays would be him carrying the football. So, you know, it's a great weapon for us right now. The advantage of having a quarterback that is versatile enough to do that, has paid us a ton of dividend early in this year.
Hey, Mike, just through all your time in football, what do you know about Lovie Smith? How much have you guys kind of crossed paths just in all the years of coaching?
Well, I've certainly been aware of Lovie for a long time and had a great respect for the work that he has done in football. I think that the players that I've known that have played for him really, really appreciate him as a coach and as a person. So, you know, our paths actually have not crossed that much as far as interaction, but I've kind of watched him from afar, just, you know, from the platform where he's been. So I think it's probably a real good thing for Illinois to have a guy like that coaching there.
What do you suppose he's learning right now about how college football is different from the NFL? The things that you had to learn back when you made that transition?
Well, I think Sam probably he probably was very aware of it, but I think that the thing that is definitely different is the day-to-day interaction with your own team has many different parts other than just the football part of it, and that's probably the biggest deal about college coaching that's different is that how these guys do socially, how they do academically, and how they do football are all tied into what we do.
Is that ending from the Illinois game last year one of those ones you can't ever quite shake? I mean, but can you also, in a big picture sense, do you think this team learned something from that scenario?
We hope we all learned better about how to do that. We certainly spent a lot of time studying all of our situations and taking other team situations and looking at them and trying to be real definitive in the packaging of what we do in situations that it might be the end of the game, but it might be the end of the half. It might just be regular situations in the game, how you want to handle them. And so this thing about football, whether you've coached a few years or 40 years, there's still an awareness learning process that has to take place for me personally and for what is passed on to your team so you react better. But I think having been in those situations and the number of guys we have returning, I think they're now actually tools and can be helpful for us because I think there's a special emphasis to how important those seconds are, how important that execution is in those critical situations like that. And so I think the emphasis of the preparation has probably been the best thing that's come of that since that happened.
You get Keith Williams back on your sideline for game day this week.
I know. I told him today we better win. Otherwise he's going back in the box. No, go ahead.
No, I mean, how much does that mean having him there in a game day atmosphere for your receivers and team in general?
Oh, I think it's going to be great to have Keith back. We went. That was a hard, not good situation that has been. I think we've been through the consequences of that, and so we're excited to have him back now. Full-fledged into the practices, the games, and the whole part of it. It'll be real good for the Huskers to have him back.
How do you think he's handled the situation over the last month and a half?
I think that he's handled it exactly as we would have wanted him to. The kind of the suspension part. That might have been the hardest when he wasn't even here. For the receivers, for everybody. And then the next part of it, which was not in the games, but he could come to practice. It was good to have him back at practice. And I think that, he was full speed into preparation, full speed into practicing with the guys, and then did what he was supposed to do on game day. And then now the re-entry will be in total, and it'll be good.
How do you feel like response from the prospects has gone in terms of official dates? I know you guys have a pretty big official this week and playing again.
Yeah.
This weekend. How do you feel like it's gone since the calendar turned toward the season? Do you have an ideal number of players that you want to get to? Are there focus areas you want to focus on the last 4 or 5 months?
Let me see if I can remember. I think we have 15 commitments. I think we're shooting for that. Somewhere in that 22 range, right in there. We feel really good about the buzz that's out there with the guys. We had a meeting yesterday about our very, what I would call active recruits that we're on. We've got our new designated phone call list out for that group for this week. But we feel good about the buzz that's going on about Nebraska. And the sense of the feeling that I get about the kids that I've talked to, I feel real good about. So, we've got a ways to go with some of them that are going to make later decisions, but we're going to stay with that and compete like crazy for that. So, but I think in general, it's real good right now.
How about, I know you can't talk about commits or anything.
Yeah.
John Perella, how is he recruited in a very short time? He appears to have done very well.
John is really, really, I think he grabs kids in a great way. I think he's one of those guys hard to say no to. Yeah, he works at it real hard, but there's a special uniqueness that you guys already know because of his background at Nebraska that he brings to this thing that is special. There's a passion that he brings to his recruitment. So I think he, first of all, believes in Nebraska, and so recruits to that well. But I also think that he believes in what we're doing, and so he can combine that real well as he recruits. It's a great combination that he brings.
Conversely, you have two guys in the NFL, Malik and Vincent, and they're starting.
Yeah.
And they're good.
Yeah.
So you lost those two guys off your defensive line, but your defensive line appears to be playing just about as well as they did last year, despite not having them or Greg. What does that say about Perella's ability to reach these guys? And obviously they're playing well, but what does it say about Perella's ability to reach them?
Well, I look at the room in total, right? That what does this room look like? And then what I see is a group of very engaged guys that all need growth. I think that we have kind of a couple of stable older guys in Kevin Maurice and Ross Zazuris. But for the most part, this group is full of novices almost. And I think that kind of the buy-in of the older guys and the character of those older guys, coupled with the teaching that everybody's getting. John is a real detailed teacher on what we're doing out there. I think that combination is great. And so I think you see a real vibrant room. Yeah, I love it. I think these guys they stay hungry. They stay on an edge. He doesn't ever let them relax that part of growing. I think that's a really important part of learning and getting better. It's really an important part of a season. You've got to do that within your team if you're going to have a good year. And so you need that continual push. And there can't be any kind of staying just satisfied with what's going on. And I don't think John will ever let him do that.
Coach, there's a couple times on Saturday defensively looked like you were subbing guys in at the last minute, maybe having trouble getting the call in. Is that just a communication issue right now, or what is the deal?
Sometimes, you're subbing according to what the offense is doing. You are allowed a matter of seconds to make a substitution if they substitute. These teams that go up-tempo offense, if they don't substitute, sometimes it's hard to substitute, but sometimes we will still try to get somebody fresh in there. But you are allowed to match up with the offense if they substitute and change personnel. So sometimes it might look late, but you're actually getting that iron cross by the officials where you have 3 seconds to respond when they substitute so you can get a guy in the game. So sometimes it might not look like it's right on time, but it's basically a reaction to the other team's move with personnel.
Hey, with Farmer out and Whitaker starting, who would be the next guard, or what would you do if you had to go to another guard this week?
Well, that's a real good question because we are moving kind of Bo Wilson back into this picture a little bit. So he'll be in there. Jalen Barnett, who's been hurt a little bit in practice, he'll move back into that picture. So that we're getting kind of thin there. We've lost 2 scout team players, as a matter of fact. So our offensive line depth right now is not great.
So you just got to kind of survive this week, hopefully.
Yeah, we got to get this lineup set for this week and figure out how to practice for our defense too as we go through the week. All right, thank you all.